Hi everybody, it's Warren Dean from DATATALE. Thanks for coming along to my YouTube channel. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. In this video, I'm going to show you a presentation I did recently talking about what is business intelligence, what is Power BI, and what it means to me. What are the 5 reasons I want to start using Power BI? My presentation today is how to leverage your business data with Power BI. A little bit about myself. So I'm Warren Dean, founder at DATATALE. Founded my business last year just before COVID, which was an interesting experience. But I do a lot of Power BI training and consulting, mainly for state and local government. And previously I worked in local government at the City of Casey and in state government as well for around about 15 years. But before we get started, a little survey that I like to do at the start. Who here, put your hands up if you have used Microsoft Excel? Hopefully I'll see a lot of hands. All right, hands up if you use Microsoft Excel once a week. Okay, so it's about 80%. So Microsoft Excel has 750 million users. It was launched in 1985, and that's why you've all heard of it, you've all seen it, you've all used it before. But what I want to introduce you today, if you haven't already, and you've heard it mentioned a few times, is Microsoft Power BI. So I was going to ask who's heard of it, but you've had it in, I think, 2 or 3 presentations already. So who has actually viewed a Power BI report before? Wow, awesome. Who has created their own Power BI report before? Okay, so my goal is to convert the rest of you from Excel onto Power BI. So Power BI was only launched 2015, so it has 5 million users, but it is kind of newish Microsoft product. So in terms of my presentation, I just want to take you through what is business intelligence, what is analytics, and 5 reasons that you should start creating your own Power BI reports. And my goal really is, we've been hearing a lot about data, IoT data, where everyone's great at collecting data. How great are we at actually using that data to make business-driven decisions or data-driven decisions for our business? Okay, so according to The Economist in 2017, the most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data. And I love this because you can see here some of the biggest companies in the world, and we know what they're all about. They're about giving us free products so that they can collect our data and sell it and make money out of it. So like they say, if it's free, it means you're the product. And we're all, I suppose, to some extent happy to be the product because we get free services. But all these businesses are all about collecting your data. And as businesses and as local government and government, we have so much valuable data in our organizations as well. So some statistics from Gartner research that was done. Through 2022, 90% of corporate strategies will contain 2 things. They'll talk about information, data as an asset, and they'll talk about analytics. And I'm sure you're all aware that this is just the norm of the world that we live in these days. But McCrindle, which is an Australian research company, reports that 80% of business data is unused for analytics or business intelligence. And my background's local government, and for those of you in local government, we collect a whole heap of valuable data, but are we actually using it to make business decisions? So let's just have a little introduction into what is business intelligence. So this is a term I found on good old Google, which was free, so I'm now the product. But business intelligence refers to organizational culture, technologies and practices to support better business decision making. So if we just break that down, organizational culture. So how does our organization appreciate data? Do we see data as an asset? When we collaborate, are we using data in our conversations? So organizational culture, data culture within our organizations. Technologies, so databases, Excel spreadsheets, BI tools like Power BI. We'll cover a bit more of that in the presentation. And practices. So how do we operate? How do we use data? How do we consume? How do we destroy? What are the best practices in how we're using data within our organization? And when we put all these three together, the whole reason is business decision making. So what I like to say is we don't use data to make data decisions. We use data to inform business decisions. So sometimes as analysts, as myself, we get a little bit excited. We love to play around with Power BI. We love to play around with data. But is that data actually solving a business decision? So why do BI projects fail? So another stat from Gartner here, 20% of analytics insights will deliver business outcomes. So if I flip that the other way, 80% of the time that someone's working on a data project, it's going to fall flat, which is a pretty hard thing to sell to your CEO. 80% of my time is going to deliver zero value. So why does this happen? So there's a lot of issues with data. We know it's valuable, it's in our strategies, but we have issues with dirty data. So if we think about the culture, customer service, they're swamped, they're getting phone calls, they're trying to categorize a call, they just put it in the first box, or they put it in the other because it's too easy. That's something that's a culture issue. Data issues where data's coming in dirty. We have multiple data sources. So we've spoken about cloud data sources, on-premise, Excel spreadsheets, data's all everywhere throughout our organization. Do we even know where it is? How do I get access to that data? All these things are three of the major issues in actually taking data and turning it into insights. And so this is where Power BI comes in. So Power BI is, I was talking to Vaughan about this, but it's kind of cloud-based, but it's also a little bit on your desktop as well. But Power BI allows you to connect to any data source, bring it all in and visualize it and present it and collaborate with your colleagues. In terms of the ecosystem at a very simple level, Power BI, what it allows you to do is connect to cloud, on-premise, it doesn't matter where it is, there's at least 100 different connectors. It brings it into what we call Power BI Desktop, whereas we as developers, we create our Power BI reports. We'll then publish it to the Power BI service, and in the Power BI service, obviously in Microsoft 365, you can collaborate, share, and gain insights from that data. So that's what Power BI is. What are my 5 reasons that you should start using Power BI? So the first one was actually mentioned in the panel that we had just before, talking about automation, or they were talking about some of the issues with automation. So working in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, someone has to do some changes. Everything is very repetitive and manual, and Power BI allows us to automate some of these processes. So if we look at this example up next, let's use a finance or a HR example. I need to build a HR report. I'm my reporter, I go into the HR system, I pull data out, I pull it into Excel, I add some columns, I add some formulas, I add some new data, I might have to go back to the system and bring it back out, then I forget to drag down the formulas, or someone copies and pastes over formulas, which was an issue that was mentioned, and then I might present it in Excel or Word or PowerPoint. That's a tedious process, and I'm sure you'd agree that that reporter's time would be better spent actually interpreting and analysing that data instead of pulling that data out, manipulating it and playing around with it. So a much better way to do this is obviously to use Power BI. So Power BI can connect to the system. So we had Xero as one of the examples we had before. We can use an API, connect, bring that data out and create the report. And obviously we're not advocating people sleeping at work, but they can do some better things than playing around with Excel and manipulating data. Number 2, Power BI was built as a data visualization tool. So unlike Excel, which was built as more of a data entry tabular tool, Power BI is actually built as data visualizations. It's very interactive for those who have used it before, and you can build your own data visualizations to have a look. So just a few examples that I've got here. So this is a report that I built for a council on HR demographics. And so they can look at the HR information in terms of gender breakdowns, tenure, age profiles, and they can drill down and look through directorates and departments and get an understanding of the data. So sure you agree it's a lot better to look at Excel, and it's also completely automated, so it's just connected to live data. This is another example just to show you that there's a lot of custom visuals within Power BI. So you're not limited to charts. This one is looking at smart parking, so IoT data looking at smart parking. Here I'm using the data to understand when the most infringements are, which is on the weekends. This is quite interesting in terms of 2-hour parking and 3-hour parking when people are getting infringed right at the start when that time finishes. And here spatially I can put it, this isn't a map, but it's more of a floor plan, and we can see the certain sections where people are overstaying. So using this type of information to determine when your ticket inspectors are going out to certain areas, it's quite easy now to visualize that. And obviously you can interact with the report to determine, times, days. Is a weekend different to weekdays? Look, just another simple example of visualizing data quickly. This is in terms of fleet, so it's connected to the pool car API, and here we can quickly see anyone on this line is doing as expected. So in terms of taking the vehicle out and booking it, where anyone outside here is either taking the vehicle or taking their own vehicle without checking it out. So very quick and simple ways that we can analyze data to make a business decision. And this one is, if I don't know if I mentioned, used to be from the city of Casey, but this is from their website. So I've just taken a screen grab, but I did build this in terms of mapping. So in local government sense, spatial data is very important to us, and we can bring that into Power BI and analyze this data where I actually live here, and I can use, there's a little clicker here where I can highlight all these areas and look at all the capital works projects that were happening in 2019, 2020. So a good way to engage with people in the community. Number 3, access and response times. So Power BI is cloud-based, so you can actually access this data anywhere. So you could be driving home or on the train, on your way to work, and what you could actually do is log into Microsoft. There's mobile phone apps on your device. You can look at your report wherever you want to, collaborate with your report. And if you're interested in those images, I do have Power BI training program where we actually go and we build all of these in a day. So do ask if you're interested in learning how to build that. And another one that we have, number 4, is connect disparate data sets. So it's a really good use case of that walking data on the LoRaWAN, which is fantastic. We can understand people that are moving in a vicinity. But what if we could take that data and combine it with another data set? What if we could take that people counting data and combine it with our assets facilities data and understand different people who are working with walking or using a facility, and then use that for our maintenance? Maybe I can determine the maintenance based on the usage of facilities. So that's just an example that I was thinking of when we had that presentation of counting data. So we have data siloed all over the business. We can bring it all together to help us make better decisions. Another City of Casey example, which is also linked if you want to go to the website, but this is on the City of Casey's website, where it is showing to the community the growth of the City of Casey, which is one of the fastest growing councils in Victoria. They have a Tech One system, and this is all connected into their database. So animals registered, babies born, properties, and families that have moved into the community. We have Excel spreadsheet data, different SQL servers database, all brought in to be able to tell a story to the community in terms of growth. And with Power BI, you can actually host your reports within your website. So here, the community can actually go and they can click on, sorry, it's a bit hard to see, but I can select the suburb that I live in, which is in Berwick, and all this report will update and show me how many people moved into Berwick last week, how many babies were born, how many animals were registered. So really being transparent with our data and how we're working within the community. And this is just one I pulled up. We had open data mentioned before. So I thought, seeing we're in Southern Grampians, I would have a look at the crash stats data, which is open. You can get that from data.vic.gov.au. and I've pulled it out to have a look at the accidents that were in this area. And using a heat map, I took some other data, which was school locations, and had a look to see if there's any accidents near to schools. And then again, I can zoom in and analyze that data, and I can have a look days of the week. Were there any accidents on school days? And there's time data in there as well, so I could actually look if it was during a time where children were going to or leaving school. So another way where we can take two different data sets, bring it together, and deliver insights. And the last point that I have is ease of use. So I don't think I need to sell Microsoft Power BI, but it is a Microsoft product. It is updated once a month. We know there's a lot of investment from Microsoft in this tool. If you haven't seen this before, or you haven't seen these Gartner Magic Quadrants, what Gartner is an independent research company, and they research all these. These are all the BI tools. So Tableau, Qlik, Microsoft are probably the big three, and they compare them to leaders and niche players. So you can see 2015 in the first box, and 2021, Microsoft, Tableau, Qlik as the three kind of leaders within that field. But Microsoft obviously heading streams and above the rest, and I'll give you some of those reasons now. One is because it's fully integrated with Office 365. So as some of the presentations have been mentioning, you're moving on to 365. We had a Teams presentation this morning. We might have our stand-up meetings, work from home, we're all in Teams. Power BI is fully integrated with Teams. You can have your stand-up in the morning, you can have your Power BI reports and talk about it in the morning. And this is, data culture. When we're talking about data culture, we're talking about the data's right there. I can see it, I can talk about it, I can interact with it, I can make decisions during my meeting. So that's just me demoing in Teams. Entry cost is also cheap compared to Tableau and Qlik. Power BI is essentially at the low level free. So everything you've seen me do today, building reports, sharing reports into the cloud, mobile phone apps, public sharing is all free. And if you did want to get into some of the other examples, which was using security to only share bits of the data to the organization, the cost is $10 a month a user, which is not huge compared to the other products that are out there. And my last point is it's easy to learn. So if everyone put their hand up for they use Excel, there's a lot of, being a Microsoft product, there's a lot of similarities between Excel and Power BI. The layout, the feel, some of the language that's used. I've trained a lot of people in Power BI, and the ones who have used Excel before, which is a lot of people, pick it up very quickly. And according to Burning Glass, which is a research company, Power BI skills will increase in the next couple of years by 34.6%. So it has just been embedded like Excel was when, I forget what that number was, 250 million users. Power BI will just become the norm in the business world, just like Excel is the norm in the business world. So if you are interested in Power BI training, I do have a government course that I run. I have generic courses that I run as well, so please do reach out. And that's it for me.